fact that there is terrorism on the rise, the fact that many countries are in conflict, the fact that there is some unresolved issues on the Doha round, there are unresolved issues on climate change, basically means that everyone is not on the same page. And I think a lot of inability I see of countries to look at the big picture from a humanity perspective. They're looking at it more as what one gains and one loses. Now, when these kind of challenges are there, I think the way to address them to some extent is to step back a little and look at the issue from the humanity perspective. And when that's the only one that will connect the whole world on one page. We all want welfare and well-being of the human race in general, and not about a particular advantage to one country or another. So I think how do we get countries to sort of shed their very, very specific personal agendas and look at this larger picture? There is also the challenge of politics, because every country has either an elected government or some other government which has a tenure, and therefore they have to show some demonstrable benefits to the people. So how do we get people at large to understand that we have to all unite for the common cause of the welfare and development of humanity, and then see whether it is political issues or country-related issues or region-related issues, and subsume that under the larger umbrella of human development.
Right. So what's changed in the, I mean, if we were to use the new government in India as a benchmark, what's changed in the last year and a half, almost 2 years now?
See, one, I've been traveling a lot internationally with government ministers, etc. And one definitely sees an uptick in the image of India internationally. We do seem to be a much more favored destination for investment. There is a
So you're saying that the uptick is in the economic image, in as
economic,
much as perhaps foreign policy?
Yeah, foreign policy, economic image. Of course, Indians all over the world have earned a lot of reputation because they have brought great glory, perhaps contributed significantly to the economies of many countries. So that has also been a factor which has been coming of age, if I may use the word. So I think in that sense, there's a lot of positive curiosity on the fact that we are still withstanding the global slowdown and being able to even do 7.5% growth. We are not happy with that, but the world seems to feel that that's pretty good given the circumstances. So I think there is a lot of positive image, and I think this government has been able to at least catalyze that to happen. Not that it could have happened just in 2 years, but they have certainly made efforts to put this on top of people's mind.
Right. So how is that now transmitting or translating into, let's say, an industry like real estate, which you are part of?
Well, you see, we have to understand what is the problem with real estate. One side we have homelessness in our country. One side we have this whole mission of housing for all. And on the other side we have unoccupied apartments. I think in the run-up to the present period, there's been a period of boom. People over-invested in outsized properties or in expensive properties without estimating that how much demand will be generated. Initially, there was a lot of speculative investment. When you found that kind of speed of buying, you thought that you could possibly build. But that investment was only with a view of finally giving it and selling it to an actual user. The actual users have grown, but not in relationship to the supply. So we have got a problem on hand, and we have a lot of built-up space which is unoccupied. So it will take some years for this to correct itself out. Obviously, people are not starting new projects. So in a few years, hopefully, this will correct itself. Also, the fact that prices have remained stagnant for the last at least 3 years, I would think, in most markets, means that effectively 30-35% reduction has happened in the price, because if you take the carrying cost of the stock. So though there may not have been an actual markdown in terms of price, or there has been in fact a markdown also in some markets, but in general it may not have been a significant markdown. But 30-35% price correction by virtue of holding on to stock for 3 years has happened. Also the interest rates have been high during this period. So people who bought apartments with EMIs felt compelled to defer that. And finally, when you have a sluggish economy, you're not sure about your profitability, I think a lot of decisions get postponed. It's not to say that the need has disappeared, but you postpone it for another day. And so I think it's a cumulative impact of an overhang of oversupply, high interest costs, and the general mood despondency which has led to postponing investment in real estate. That is the cause of the present circumstances. How will it unfold itself? One, of course, new supply will get reduced. I think it is reduced or is reducing. Second is that interest rates will moderate, hopefully, and therefore that makes it a little more attractive. And of course, we have to see that the economy continues to hold out and we are able to improve that. And so all these three factors, when worked positively, will put
Right.
this back on track.
Right. And last question. So to go back to your first point about the sense of calmness and which and comfort which people have in the countries that they live in, or in this case in India, and that's obviously linked to the third part as well, which you just spoke of, which is if I have a sense of security, if I have a sense of predictability or horizon, then obviously I would invest, isn't it?
Yeah, this is human nature. Whenever you see trouble or turbulence or uncertainty, you do only what is essential. A lot of housing is bought by people who move from smaller homes to bigger homes. It is not exactly essential. It is something that you do for greater comfort. You do for having a little more space. You can postpone it. Of course, that's why the lower end housing and the middle income housing is holding out, because they are the first time buyers, people who are migrating from rural areas to urban areas, or young families, young boys and girls who are getting married, looking to set up homes. They're looking at very modest small apartments, and those move because there they don't, it's a very essential need. You're setting up base somewhere, you have a family, you need a place to stay. But the stock where there is a unsold kind of overhang is really where people move in for better accommodation.
Right. So last question, 2016, your outlook. Now, this is more in a general sense.
Well, I would say that as far as India is concerned, I would think that we would be moving in a positive upward direction. It may not happen in any dramatic or very fast kind of manner, and maybe below expectations in terms of what we thought when the new government came into power, because the world realities and the domestic realities are such. But I don't see us slipping backwards. I think some worthwhile reforms have happened. Some major ease of doing business issues are being tackled. In terms of infrastructure, a lot of investments are going in. I think the road sectors has picked up pretty well. Yeah, public investments. Railways also, I understand in the last 6 months have had a lot of movement. I think generally there's a very firm desire of the government to see that infrastructure is pushed up, subsidies are targeted through the JAM Trinity or any other way. So I think if you put all these things together, they've kept to their fiscal consolidation roadmap. So I think that's pretty redeeming in the given circumstances. So looking at all these different things, I feel that we are handling the macroeconomics pretty well. We are handling the fiscal issues pretty well. We are sort of investing in infrastructure, which is productive. We are trying to curb some unproductive expenses and unproductive subsidies. So if you put them all together in the short to medium term, we should start seeing some positive results.